Hi, I'm Julie Bondi. I'd like to tell you my story and about the Dragonfly Project. I call my story The Miracle That Came in the Mail. And like all good stories, it starts with, once upon a time, two people fell in love. They got married. They moved to the city, found jobs, and found a nice house in a nice neighborhood. They decided to start a family and had 4 wonderful boys, Jacob and Carl and Hans and Luke. We had all the ingredients for a really happy life. I married my college sweetheart. We had good schools. We had a great church community that we were a part of. We had healthy children, and we loved our city. So we lived happily ever after, right? Things didn't go as planned for our third son, Hans. On the day before his last day of 4th grade, we found out he had a brain tumor. For the next 8 months, we fought the cancer. He had chemotherapy, surgeries, radiation. He had to learn to walk several times. So he had physical therapy and occupational therapy. We worked really hard for 8 months to buy time and keep him as happy and as healthy as possible. After 8 months, we met with our healthcare team and we decided to bring him home on hospice. On September 28th, 2000, he died peacefully at home. He was 11 years, 6 months, and 4 days. It was a dark time for us. His age is important because I'm going to jump forward 6 months to his birthday. Birthdays at our house when the kids were little were exciting times. I loved birthdays. We had volcano cakes that exploded. The kids did science experiments, and there were kids running all over my house making big messes. It was a wonderful time. So I was particularly distraught that I wasn't going to get to celebrate my 12-year-old's birthday. It was complicated by the fact that his little brother's birthday is the day before. I didn't want to celebrate that one and not this one. And then I felt bad about that, so I had all these feelings stacked up on top of each other. But like parents do, I held myself together all that week. And on Friday of that week, we had a party for little Luke, a party that we don't really remember. The next day, March 24th, 2001, was Hans's 12th birthday. I got up that morning to take my oldest son, Jacob, to baseball practice. It's about a 20-minute drive, so for another 20 minutes, I held myself together. When he got out of the car and slammed the door, my dam broke. I started crying. I cried all the way home, and when I got home, I couldn't get out of the car. I started praying. It wasn't a very beautiful prayer. It was a rather desperate prayer. It went something like this. I'm done. I don't know what to do now. I don't feel Hans's presence anymore. People don't talk about him anymore. It's his birthday. You gotta help me. I need help. I started bargaining. And can you give me a sign? Eventually I got tired of this prayer and this tirade and got out of my car. I went in the house and plopped down on the couch to watch TV. After a little while, the mail came. And in the mail that day was junk and bills and one special card, one personal card. And it was just a simple card, and inside it said, "Thinking of all of you and Hans on his birthday. Signed, Valerie Marquardt. There was a purple bead bracelet, homemade, with purple beads because purple was Hans's favorite color, and a dragonfly hanging on it. And inside was typed up on a piece of paper, the Dragonfly story, written by Walter Dilly Cabot in 1944. In the bottom of an old pond lived some grubs who could not understand why none of their groups ever came back after crawling up the stems of the lilies to the top of the water. They promised each other that the next one who was called to make the upward climb would return and tell what happened to him. Soon one of them felt an urgent impulse to seek the surface. He rested himself on top of a lily pad and went through a glorious transformation which made him a dragonfly with beautiful wings. In vain he tried to keep his promise. Flying back and forth over the pond, he peered down at his friends below. Then he realized that even if they could see him, they would not recognize such a radiant creature as one of their number. The fact that we cannot see our loved ones or communicate with them after the transformation, which we call death, is no proof that they cease to exist. So even though we don't recognize those who have gone before us in death, doesn't mean they've ceased to exist. You can't get a more perfect story than that. It was a miracle. I had a sign, something to hold on to, and a story that told me just what I needed to hear that day. I couldn't believe it. This ordinary woman, by taking a few minutes to send me a card, provided a turning point in my grieving and changed everything. A little bit about Valerie Marquardt. I didn't really know Valerie. She was a member of our church, and I didn't really meet her until we needed someone to take care of Hans while Pete and I were out of the house with our other 3 children. And 6 months later, she still knew Hans better than she knew us. And as she tells the story, she almost didn't send the card because she didn't know us. And why would she do that? But she did. I started telling everybody about this miracle. I told my friends, I told my family, I told the people at church. I couldn't stop telling people about it. I was so amazed that this person who barely knew me would take the time to think of me. 9 months later, I was still talking about it. So when I started writing my Christmas letter, I had to put it on the back of my Christmas letter. That letter went to Valerie's household. Her daughter Anne was 11 when that letter came. She'd helped her mom make the bracelet that they'd sent me. When she heard my story and how much it meant to me to get that card, she understood. So she asked her mom, "Can we do this for other people? We should do it for other people." So with the help of her mother and her best friend Anna, Anne started the Dragonfly Project when she was 11. The purpose? To send condolence cards out, and the Dragonfly story, and Dragonfly keychains. They started with hand-stamped cards and started looking up obituaries in the newspaper, looking up addresses and sending out cards. And people started responding. They started getting letters back. A reporter from the Star Tribune interviewed me and interviewed Anne and put our story on the front page of the Metro State section. So Anne, when she was 13, started traveling around the Twin Cities telling the story of the Dragonfly Project. It was from there that we started growing exponentially. Boom, suddenly the Dragonfly Project was getting big. People kept asking for cards. The stories kept coming in of the dragonflies and how they were touching people. Money started coming in, gifts, people being grateful. So now it's 14 years later, and we've sent over 75,000 packets all over our country, every state in the Union, and even some places outside the nation. We've tried to address every school that's had a shooting. Dragonflies are flying everywhere, bringing hope. So we keep making packets. We keep sending the cards. Now this miracle that came in the mail belongs to everyone, not just to me.